Good evening, members of Scripted Encounters. How's everybody doing this evening? I hope everybody is doing great. How's everybody doing? As for me, I'm just here relaxing. You know, did my workout. I've been getting some rest. Uh, but as I've been resting, my mind just been constantly just remembering things of the past. Guess with all the things happening right now. Just remembering a lot of things that I have forgotten. You know, when you have like an injury, like I do from the military, they say when you have a blow to the head, uh, that you forget things. When I got in the accident, I got in. They said that I was going to lose my memory and stuff like that, but I started remembering things of the past. More in depth that I can really. How you doing, cousin Jesse? The blow to the head that I got, the doctor told me that I probably was going to get memory loss. That maybe one day, 10 years, 15, 20 years later, that after, that maybe my memory would come back of certain events because I have regretted a lot of things. Uh, it's been over from that day of that accident I had in the military, you know, now it's like 20 something years. uh, I started remembering, because I did have a knockout blow when I was in Fort Ord, California. When I flew out of the tank, went into the tank. I hit the breach. We landed in it's called a wadi. It's a man-made crack on the earth, and it was like a 20-foot drop. And that's how I got knocked out. Got air medevac, and I was like 20, 21 years old. Got air medevac, and that blow, it just, it did a lot of damage, I guess you could say. But luckily now, through Jesus Christ, I'm able to remember more things in detail. Talking to people, and when I use this platform as venting, how you doing, Sister Gloria Vela? Um, when I use this platform to vent, that's what I use it for, to vent. It's kind of like I share my stories here, so like if one day I were to forget, well, right here is the memory. Here on Spiritual Encrypted Encounters or Positive Spiritualists, but mostly here. I do share all my everything I post here. I share it to Positive Spiritualists, but this is like my memory recall. I'm using this site, to remember things. So if one day, because my memory can it's come back, but then at the same time it can go away. So I'm using this as a platform. So if something were to happen, I can always look at the videos, so I can keep my memory sharp. That's what I do. But tonight's topic, like I said, my memory is coming back. I'm remembering things, and some of the things that I'm remembering are not good. Uh, whether it's dealing with combat or dealing when I was a kid, I'm getting you could say a memory recall. I'm remembering things. So tonight's story, I'm gonna say the story first, how I said it, explain it to you a long time ago, and then I'm gonna tell you what I'm remembering now. Because all the things that I'm going through right now, I'm getting this memory recall that I'm remembering in-depth things. So the story I'm going to share with y'all tonight, brothers and sisters, is during when my brother was sick. He was my brother's 2 years older than me. He had high fevers. He was always hallucinating, seeing snakes and spiders because of the high fevers. That he would jump and he would be scared, and he was like that for a while, for about a week, 2 weeks, and the doctors didn't have a cure for him in the United States. They said that as high of fevers that he had, the most likely he was going to die. So we seeked, or our parents seeked alternative help. which was a medicine woman on Tamaulipas, Mexico, Tamaulipas, Reynosa, Tamaulipas, in that area. Uh, I remember our aunt took us down there because we didn't have a vehicle. So we were all riding in this here old Monte Carlo. It was a green Monte Carlo with a four-door green Monte Carlo, like a 1970, and look, or probably like 1960 something. But it was a green one with those seats, those green leather seats. I remember sitting in the back seat. You know, the back seat was pretty big. You know, for when the time frame, I was probably like 2, 3 years old. My brother was like four or five, somewhere around there. I was young, uh, and I remember traveling there. I remember when we entered Reynosa, where, except my memory recall is coming back to me, where the streets were made out of bricks, and you going through with your car, and you traveling on those streets. They're made out of like brick, and I remember we arrived at the Curandera's house, and her house, uh, it was kind of like her floor was dirt, so when she would sweep her dirt, her floor was dirt, so it was already hard. So it might have been a mixture of dirt and cement, because I didn't see like cracks or nothing like that, but it could have been like dirt and cement. I'm not sure, but I remember the floor being that way, and she lived. It was like a little apartment complex, and there was a big tree, and by the big tree there was an outdoor latrine, because over there it was outdoor latrines, what we call excusados, but they're in the outside outhouses, how they call them in the United States. Well, I remember going there, and she spoke to my mother, and she looked at me, and she had told my mother that she could help him, but that I would have to stay with her. Uh, for her, I can't even remember how many months. All I know is I was there for a while. I think I've said 6 months, 3 months to 6 months, somewhere in between there. But like I said, I was a kid, so I really don't know how long I stayed there. Uh, so I remember that same day that we arrived, she got my brother, took her to. She had two rooms, one room where you would enter, and the other room where uh, she would do the healings. She had like an altar, and she had candles in there. She had a hole in the ground where she would start. She had a fire going on, like a flame, like wood, burning wood inside this what seemed to be like a hut of some sort. Uh, I remember the day that she killed my brother. She got him near the flame. She had grabbed an egg, and my brother, he had like a limp because of the fevers. He was always falling down and hurting himself, and he had on his arm, he had. I'm seeing something over here in front of me. Something red. I don't know, but it's probably a reflection. Um, so my brother was always falling down. His leg. He walked with a limp, and his arm was messed up. His arm, he had it up like this. Um, so she grabbed the egg, started rubbing it on him from head to toe, on the arm and the leg, and she was saying something that I don't understand what she was saying. All I remember is when she cracked the egg, what I witnessed was a little black chick that came out of the egg with a broken leg and a broken wing. So when I noticed that and I looked at my brother was good. My brother's hand wasn't the way it was. His leg was different. He got whatever was upon him. He got healed by the curandera there in Tamaulipas, Mexico. So I seen them leave. I see my brother leave, my mother leave, and I stayed there with this curandera. She was a very powerful, you could say, witch. No, because you got white magic, black magic, but witches are witches, right? The some fight the good battle, some are evil. But she was a very powerful white witch, to my understanding. She was well known in that area that the people were afraid of her. I don't think it was the people that were afraid of her. It was what was within the people that were afraid of her. If that makes sense to you. Because some people have attachments. They have demons in them. And this woman had the capability to cast out whatever was within an individual. That's how she would heal individuals. Kind of like you could say, like, what I do. You know, she would always tell me in Spanish, lo que yo sé, tú lo vas a saber. You know, and basically saying, what I know, you're going to know. And she would tell me that I was going to be blessed. And you know, I was going to be blessed with spiritual gifts, you know, because of the works that I was doing with her. You know, we healed together as a, you could say, as a team. You know, she was doing the work, but I was doing the spiritual work where I was able to see what was within the individuals that she was healing. For example, I remember she laid a man, and he told her what he was going through. You know, that he had pain in the stomach, that he had real bad headaches. So she laid him on the little altar, and she started going healing with pure energy. Like it's kind of like I could see her spirit go into his body where he was hurting. Uh, I remember I seen her spirit go into his body, and when she pulled her spirit out of the body of her hands, the energy from her hands, she pulled a Constantine wire out of the guy's stomach, and from his head that he had headaches, she pulled a scorpion out of there, you know, out of his head. And then after that, she told the gentleman or the person she was being her patient of who put the maldad on him, which means who did the witchcraft on him. You know, the who she gave him a name of who did it to him after she healed him, and she would do this to all of her patients because the people wanted to know who caused the maldad, who who wished bad upon him, and she would give them the names. It's kind of she was giving them names, and when she would give them the names was I would say freaked out about it is that a lot of these names that she mentioned to these people was people that they knew, whether some of them were relatives, some were some were their mother-in-laws, father-in-laws. They were part within the family that was causing the maldad, the evil to these individuals. I witnessed a man come in there one day, and he was acting strange. She put him on the altar that she had. It's like I'm talking about like a little where you can lay down, you know. And as she laid him down, I seen like three or four of this what I call DDM, disembodied demonic Nephilim, come out of his body, and they were pretty tall. They come out of his body, and through the flame by the wall, I could see the dark shadow silhouettes as they were walking out of the tent. You know, they were literally moving disembodied form out of the tent. And she asked me, "Are they gone?" In Spanish, "Se fueron," and I would just point to her where they would go. She had like a little bed for me set up there in that room where she was healing all these people. You know, I've seen her heal a lot of people. Like I said, I was there for a long time. Uh, I don't remember. You know, I really honestly don't remember how long I was there with her. The only thing I know is that uh, that she would cook me fresh homemade corn tortillas with beans, which she would make them into uh, frijoles fritos, refried beans. And I love that. And she would cook me that all the time. You know, she treated me like if I was her son. So I remember going to the market with her. You know, when I would go to the market, they had those bushels. They had corn, green beans, and stuff like that. And I would witness, you know, that all the people when she would come, they would run away from her. You know, she wore a patch on her. I believe I'm trying to remember which eye it was that she was missing. She was missing an eye, so she had a patch over that eye, and she had a bullet, I believe, on her hip, and she would walk with kind of like a limp. But um, she was like a curandera in the times of Pancho Villa. So when I was 3 years old, this woman was already up there in age, like in her 90s. She was already an old woman, you know. So you figure that one out. When I was three, it was like in 1902. So if I was three in 1972, and she was already 90 something. So he had to been born in the 1800s. So that's from what time frame she was from the 1800s, like probably mid 1800s, somewhere around there. If or you know somewhere around there, that's when she was born. But I remember the people who were running away from her, like they were afraid of her. But you know, now that I'm older, I understand why they were running away from her. It's because of the capabilities she had. You know, she would ask me, "So are you afraid of me?" And I was like, "No, I love you." You know. And then she lifted the patch off her eye, and she said, "Are you afraid of me now?" And I said, "No, I love you." And she just looked at me like, and she would just give me a smile, you know, like she expected me to be afraid of her, but I didn't have no fear. You know, that's why all my life I really have that's been out of the equation within me. Fear is out of the equation uh, within me because I've never been afraid of nothing in that manner. I've seen things, and you know, when I didn't understand them, it's like you see them and you're like, "What is that?" But fear really hasn't been within me. You know, it's kind of like I've been blessed. I've been blessed not to fear anything. You know, Jesus blessed me that way, I believe. Uh, but anyways, as she helped so many people within her community, one thing happened. I believe it happened with that man that that was demonized by this unclean spirits that was within him. You know, she gave him a name of the person that caused the maldad. Then I remember one day, it was already night, uh, where lechuzas, or should I say, brujas, came to challenge her spiritually. They tried to enter her home, but couldn't enter the home because she had her home protected. But I could see them all standing out there. All the brujas. There was like a lot of them, 6 to 8 brujas, all dressed in black. They were coming to take her out spiritually, but they couldn't enter her domain because it was spiritually protected. So they wanted her to come outside so they could ambush her. And I stood there by her, and I remember how they looked. There were some on the trees. Uh, they were in lechuza form, and then there were some that were standing on the ground, telling her to come outside, but she didn't. She wasn't afraid of them, but she knew that her home, her foundation was a protection, because there was a bunch of them, and they were coming from all directions. There was I say like if I can remember the count, there had to be like 8 to 10 of them. Some on the trees and some on the ground. They were standing, and they was mad, upset because she gave she helped a man that all those witches put a spell on. So that's what they were mad about because one of the sisters had fallen, which one of those witches that was involved in that cantonate, what do you call it? Spell, cantonation, or whatever you call it, uh, died. They died because those demons that I seen leave the body of the man, they went back to the sender. So all these witches that came for her were pissed off because she helped this man that they put a, and it went back to the sender, in which the witch that died was affiliated with him, and she died because those demons went back to her, and she died. So that's what I witnessed. Now that my memory is opening up, I witnessed this, and they were trying to get to me also, but they couldn't because God protects me. Uh, so they were looking at me like they wanted to do some harm to me also because I was her, you could say, her helper, or her apprentice, whatever you want to call me. I was there helping her out, doing good. When you cast things out of people that's causing the harm, you're doing good. So I was helping out people, breaking spells of maldads that people were causing to these individuals, doing the good works. So that's one of the things that I remember from the story. Now that I'm having a memory recall, I remember that happened. So when that happened, it's when the time frame that my my mother had come for me. But before that had happened, I remember there was I believe it was somebody that's a familiar or a demon that was affiliated with these witches that was in disguise of a boy, and he was always telling me things. And he was taller than me. I was just a kid, and he was always telling me things of that he's there for power, he's there to be a warlock and all these things. And I was too young to understand what he was saying. And he was always dressed in black. This guy, he was older than me. He was always dressed in black, and it's kind of like he didn't like me because she chose me to use me to teach me these things that she was showing me, chose me instead of him. So he had a vendetta against me when I was just there because I had no choice to be there. Well, that's why I was left. So when I left, I remember he was there, and he stayed there in Mexico, and I came to the United States. But I believe he was to be a brujo for power. You know, Mia was just there because I had no choice to be there. Till my mother showed up and bring me back to the States. So what happened when I come back to the States? Certain events started happening. I remember because since I helped helped all those people, and one of those witches that belonged to the witches convent that was affiliated with them died because we helped the man that had those unclean spirits, and it went back 7 times fold to the center. So they lost a sister witch. So what happened is when I came to the States, I wasn't under the protection of the curandera anymore. So they came for me, you know. They came for me and they were trying the darnest to get a hold of me. I got a scratch on my face where I got scratched by, I believe, a lechuza, where they were mimicking my grandmother's voice, and I got the scar on my face. You know what happened when I was a kid? I've gotten a scratch on the back. So I started getting targeted because of vengeance. The vengeance and the vengeance, and I found out who was doing the wrongdoings to my brother also, which was my grandmother, a relative with the name of Maria. It was a blood relative. See, I had two blood relatives. Well, there were several blood relatives named Maria, but that's a person that put the maldad, which is the spell, or the and my brother was a relative that did black magic, which was a witch, to place that spell. There was two Marias that I only knew. You know, not including my mother, because my mom's name is Maria, but she got a middle name. The person that did the spell was a dark witch. She was a dark witch slash head witch of the area. But there was two Marias that I knew of. One was my grandmother, and the other one was within the CS bloodline, but from my other cousins, that she lived in a town called Hargill, Texas. So it was either or that did that to my brother, one of them. So what I started witnessing, that I found out that it wasn't just one that was partaking in that; it was two, because my grandmother, that lived within the same. Uh, we have four lots, and we lived in the same side by side. So I witnessed some of the spiritual battles that were happening. But before going to that, when they came looking for me, they came in numbers. There's witches. They came in numbers. They would come and land by the trees right beside our house. You know, we had trees. They were my neighbors, and they will land on there, and there'll be a bunch of them. They'll make sounds. They'll pound on the wall. I'm sharing in depth uh, things that will happen. Poundings on the wall, scratching on the wall, pounding, running on top of the roof. Our house was on pillars. We could hear pounding underneath the home. You could hear women laughing, children laughing, which I believe the children that we were hearing was demons. There was things happening within our house when they will come. Flying dishes. The dishes were fly, glasses were dropped, the silverware was flying off the I said by the where they were in the where the dishes are. They were flying off of there. So there was a lot of paranormal activity this witches brought, which I believe they brought their familiars and their demons that are affiliated with them to cause chaos and havoc. So what my mother would do, she would grab all of us, which were quite a bit at the time. I believe there were five, which and she would grab us in a circle, and we start praying. You know, this activity would happen mainly on Saturdays. That's when it would happen the most, on Saturday evenings. So you can hear them, the witches talking, whispering amongst each other. You could hear them laughing, and sometimes they'll get so close. My hairs are standing up right now a little bit because our windows were big, so they will get so close to the window that you could see them. You could see the witch. You could see them when they were in lechuza form. You could see them when they were in regular form of a woman, but then they would turn into the owl form, and you could see them standing by the window, trying to get near the window, like they were trying to come inside the house. So in our house, we kept the holy palm. We had crosses of holy palm on every door and every window because, like I said, I guess they had a vendetta against me, just like I had the vendetta against the curandera from Mexico. What happened to her fate, to my understanding, when she passed away, that they finally got a hold of her. This brujas, lechuzas, that they found her with no blood in her body. To my understanding, so they found her with no blood in her body. That's what I heard. Whether it's a true story or not, I don't know. Of that she lost her blood, uh, that's what I heard. Which makes you think, when you hear about chupacabras, how they find cows with no blood, goats with no blood, makes you wonder if it's really even a chupacabra, but its possibility could be a witch manifesting itself to look like a lechuza or a chupacabra, because that's what they do. But we also know there's another creature that drains blood that we know from our childhood, the Nosferatu. The Nosferatu drains blood off of people. So, what was coming to my house, lechuzas? They had the capabilities to suck the blood out of you? Or was it, in reality, the Nosferatu that might exist in Mexico? That they have the capabilities to drink the blood out of the people. I don't remember we fought, and I remember garlic in our home. There was garlic on our doorways. I heard a noise here to the right of me. Garlic. We kept garlic in our house. But I'm just sharing this. I hope this story is interesting to you, cousin Jesse or Jesus. Just sharing what I remember. So when the activity was picking up there at our home, my grandmother, I remember one day that I got brave to go out there and I could see them in lechuza form on the trees. They were pretty big, pretty massive, and I would throw rocks at them, big rocks, and I was getting direct hits on them. By then, when this story that I'm talking about, I was already like in fourth, fifth grade. I was already older. I wasn't a little 3-year-old boy. I was older. So, this would happen a lot till I finally made a stance against it. My mom was too afraid to go outside, but I wasn't afraid. One day, that day that I was throwing those rocks at him, the caliche, my grandmother came and she went to where that side of the house, which was the left side of her house by the fence where the trees were. She went and said something to him in a different language. I don't know what she was saying. And they all flew away. What makes me wonder is she was the one behind my brother being sick. That's what I felt. So that happened. Then I started witnessing other things where these demons were coming and trying to infiltrate my grandmother's house. So I was caught because I was spiritually gifted. So I was caught in a battle between witches. And I'm going to tell you why. My grandfather had a relationship, to my understanding, now that I'm older, my grandfather had a relationship with his brother's wife, which her name was Maria, and lived in Hargill, Texas. She was a witch. My grandmother was a witch, as far as I know, because of what I was told by some of my older cousins. So they started fighting for my grandfather, which his name was Juan. They started fighting spiritually because that witch wanted him. So my grandfather started getting spiritually attacked because she was sending maldad his way. That's why I believe I witnessed him get elevated in the air by this demon, or DDN that I call, and because she was putting spiritual hits on him. So I got caught in the middle of a spiritual battle between witches, black magic versus black magic, in which I could see the demons, and there was portals from this battle that they're still open there in my house because of the spiritual battles. There's portals that were left open because that was a big battle where all kinds of things were happening. There were summoning demons left and right, and I was seeing them. All the things that were being summoned, the things that were flying, and there were some that were flying in the air, like gargoyles. So I witnessed all these things. Like I said, I'm getting a memory recall, and I'm sharing what I know. But besides all that of the brujas, I can continue I'm going to continue with the brujas before I even change the subject. So basically, I started witnessing all this spiritual or black magic battle, black magic versus black magic, in which nothing good's going to come out of it. So demons were coming, they were being summoned to come attack my grandfather, and vice versa. Certain things were happening elsewhere. So I witnessed all this spiritual battle of the witches. But all that did, of what I witnessed, made me stronger. Because I remember the day that I lost when I became no fear. It's the day that I went out there with those witches. They were in lechuza form. That's when the fear left me. So ever since I was a kid, I really have had no fear, because I faced the unseen forces. I witnessed unseen forces, so I remember that I really wasn't afraid. It's kind of like I've always been strong at heart, spiritually. I'm just sharing the memory recall of that story. But everybody knew this woman, this curandera that I speak of. She gave us, all of my brothers and sisters, she gave us a pottery, because she knew how to make pottery, and he had her names on the little pottery. And she told my mother to keep that. It was a gift from her to my mother. But that's what I remember of her, of this woman. She was a brave, strong, spiritual woman that was doing spiritual works. Imagine this. And she wouldn't ask for much money to help somebody out, but by her helping out, and it affected another witch, the seventh fold, destroyed a witch, a black witch, that was affiliated with a lot of black witches, so they decided to come after her. So this spiritual battle is very real. but it makes me stronger, and I know exactly what to do to overcome them. You know, it's I don't pay attention how they manifest. I don't pay attention to their numbers. Uh, what I pay attention is to maintain focused with a love foundation, staying spiritually grounded. But to maintain the love foundation, to have the no fear. So however they come my way, I'm ready to rebuke them through the name of Jesus Christ. And that has been more effective, more efficient when you fight a spiritual battle is to fight through your faith, through your belief in Jesus Christ. It wasn't my choice. It wasn't up to the Curandero's choice of how I wanted to be. It was my choice, and I chose not to use anything that I was shown. I chose Jesus Christ. I chose Jesus because that's where I felt my calling was through Jesus Christ. That's how I do the spiritual works. But yes, negativity versus negativity, you ain't going to have no positive results out of it. How you doing, Sister Maria? We were just talking about two Marias, but these two Marias that we were speaking of were dark witches. If you get the chance, watch the replay of what I'm talking about. But yes, I remember that very clearly, and for a long time, that battle happened for years. That I really like creatures. I could see these creatures that were hoofed, like part goat, half human, but with their face looked freaked out. I was witnessing dark shadow figures. Witnessed when people talk about the Mothman, I witnessed something huge like that with red eyes on a blackberry tree. I witnessed a man dressed as a native with his tribal gear on, chanting by the corner of the fence. He was calling my father outside in a very strong, loud voice. He went out there. I don't know what they were discussing, but when my father came, he was scared because he was pale. But I believe that my father, since his mother was a black witch, that he might have dabbled with something. Maybe that's one of the reasons that we were catching so much activity at that house. But it just made me stronger as an individual. It made me not to fear. Maybe not to fear, because God is with me. I've been making a video just almost every day this week, but I hope you like the story of the Lechuza. They're very cunning. They can take many forms. The brujas, they can mimic voices. They can, as they change appearance, they can manifest to somebody that you know, like a double hanger. It's crazy. And you see what they like placing certain things in certain areas. When they do a cantation, a spell, they put it like in a little ampule, or they place it in a little sack with something and hide it. They hide it in your yard. They hide it in your plants. They hide it somewhere. They can hide it underneath your bed, and you don't even know it's in there. Or they can hide it inside your pillow, and you don't know it's there. You don't know it's there. But those are the kinds of works they do. And the reason I'm sharing the stories with y'all, brothers and sisters, here on Spiritual Encrypted Encounters is because I love every single one of y'all, every member that I have here. I love y'all, and I just want to share my wisdom and knowledge, you all, of what I've experienced. I've seen the unseen spiritual wars for many years. I witnessed them in Lubbock, Texas, where, oh man, okay, let me tell you another story before I even go to that. My father and mother, this one I'm gonna call the prayer group, the prayer exorcism group. That's what I'm gonna call it. The prayer exorcism group. The Lady of Guadalupe, Our Lady of Guadalupe Church. My mom and dad were members of that church. So there was a group of people, husband and wives, that joined a group of prayer, in which it became bigger than that when a certain priest got involved and people were being demonized in South Texas. They were called upon that group. I remember my dad had a crucifix. See, they were called upon them to go help out people that were being spiritually attacked or possessed, by these demonic forces. But I believe, like I said, I don't think my dad was righteous like they say he was because of his mother. So he could have been the spiritual opening for members of that group to get spiritually attacked. In order for you to do spiritual works, brothers and sisters, you have to be spiritual ready. You cannot be living in sin. You have to be spiritually prepared when you're going to face something demonic. Right? So I want to share a couple of stories with y'all of them. Our house was small, so when the phone rang, I could hear what people were saying through the phone. So I remember they received a call one day. And I'll call this story, I'm going to call this story, what I'm going to share with y'all, Time is Up. The witch's time is up. Well, they get a call that there was a woman, a woman that she was supposedly a reborn Christian, but was a witch. And that the devil, Lucifer, was at her house trying to collect her soul. So they called upon the prayer group. It was like around 5:30, 6. It was already 6, 6:30. So, in the chalupa, the loteria from Mexico, they get the little devil in there, So I'm a kid, so I want to see how this devil looks like, So in our station wagon, I went to the very back, in the back, and I hid myself underneath a rag or something that was there. I was skinny. So, I could hear him traveling to wherever this house was, where the ex-witch was, that the devil was coming for her soul. So I remember they stopped the car, they opened the doors, and I could hear them talking. Do you have the crucifix? She had the Bible, and they got off. And when they got off, I guess my dad see me in the back, and they told me, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I came to see who this devil is that you're talking about." So they told me to stay there in the car, and I could see all the cars parked and down the block where the people from this prayer group were going there to fight spiritually. So I'm there standing outside the station wagon. I'm like probably half a block away from the house that they're at, because I see them in the distance how they entered the front gate. So I started going closer and closer to the fence. I was passing car after car after car, so I could get close enough to look to see what they were talking about. So they were gathered up in a circle. This is true stories, brothers and sisters. They were gathered up in a circle, holding hands, praying against the devil, right? So as I got very close, I'm looking and I'm hearing a voice, a very loud voice speaking over everybody. And he's telling them, she belongs to me. I'm the devil. She belongs to me. Her soul is mine. It's telling them. So they're trying to battle this through prayer and through Jesus Christ. But I believe this witch had made a deal with it, a blood pact. So it had jurisdiction over her. So I'm listening to this loud voice, and I said, maybe it's, back then they didn't have the technology they got now to make those kind of sound effects. But I was like curious. I wanted to see where this voice was coming from. So as I'm getting close to the fence where my mother and father entered, and I could see all the members of that exorcism group. I could see the priest that led that group. They're also fighting what supposedly is Lucifer. So he keeps on telling them to leave, that her soul belongs to him, and he's saying I'm the devil. So when I get to the gate and I opened it and I looked to the tree, this is what I witnessed: a giant albino snake. Oh, not I ain't gonna say albino. I'll say like a yellow albino snake, like a light color, big anaconda snake wrapped around the tree, and you could see the face with the red eyes speaking to them, telling them to leave because it was there to collect the soul of her. So when I opened the gate, they had already been there for about 45 minutes trying to fight spiritually. When I opened the gate, that snake seen me and I seen it. When that happened, it disappeared in thin air and left a puff of smoke. That's when I knew that I was spiritually gifted, that whatever that was knew who I was. When it disappeared, all the people in the prayer group were celebrating. They were happy to say that they got rid of Satan, but it wasn't them that did it. It was me. But they didn't know that I was there. When that happened, I went back to my vehicle. That ex-witch or whatever, she passed away that week. That's one thing, when you make a blood pact, you make a blood pact with something like that. A deal's a deal, right? So it's going to come collect. Oh man, I'm talking about this and the wind is picking up very strong here right now. I don't know if y'all hear that. How you doing, brother? I'm getting interference right now here in Spiritual Encrypted Encounters. That's one of the stories. One of the stories of when they were going to do exorcisms. I got another story for y'all of what happened. They were called to a house where a woman had gotten possessed by the devil. And there was priests and preachers that were coming from all different congregations, and they couldn't get rid of the devil within the woman. Right? So they went up there and they said, we got rid of the serpent, of the devil, we can get rid of it again. So this is what happened. When they went into the room where the woman was possessed. Oh, sorry to hear that, brother. Where it was a woman that was possessed. There were migrant workers, They had gone to work during the summer up in Lubbock, Texas, and when she came back, she became demonized. And I think cousin Jesus knows who they are, the Elizondos, the ones with the colored eyes. Their mother had gotten possessed. Um, so they went in there into the room to pray for her. They were holding hands. They were doing the same routine they did that day with the big snake that was on the tree. What happened is, the reason I know this is because they talked about what happened. So that's how I'm able to relay the story to y'all, because I was there listening to what they were saying. My cousin Jesse knows I was one of those little kids that I was always paying attention to everything, listening to everything. At the same time, I was always getting spanked for being that way. But as they were praying and trying to cast the Satan out of this woman that was possessed, it was in the voice of a man, and he said, "Her soul belongs to me. Leave, I am," and he said, "Lucifer, Satan." And the temperature in the room got real cold. That it's kind of like it was hot outside, but the room got so cold that it felt like it was winter. And he's telling them that her soul belongs to him. So when he was doing that, and the form of the woman changed from a 30-something-year-old woman to an old lady, because he had whatever demon was in her, was Satan within her, that he changed her appearance to look like an old lady. So what happened is, since they were all holding hands, some of the members of the prayer group wasn't spiritual ready for it. They got scared and they broke the circle where they were praying, and they took off running out of there with fear. There was a couple of the members that left running. They took off running out of there. That's a big no-no when you're fighting spiritually, because that's a sign of fear, which a sign of fear is a spiritual opening. So everybody, when they were talking about it, the whole people left. They all left. This woman that had Satan in her. I don't know who's the one that healed her, or they ever casted it out. But all in all, I remember what happened afterwards. They left that house. What started happening, brothers and sisters, is that everybody that was fighting Lucifer, or the demonic spirit that was within them, they lost a family member. Each person, part of the prayer group, lost a family member. One of them, I don't know, cousin Jesus know, it was this guy named Ricardo Guzman. That's what his name was. Well, his parents were in the prayer group, and they used to be migrant workers, go work up in Lubbock, Texas. What happened to him, they lived out in a ranch, and he stayed home. When the parents came back to the house, his blood was spread all throughout the house in satanic symbols. And they found him, how should I say, with his organs out of his body. All his organs were like out of his body, and there was blood everywhere, symbols everywhere of devil worshippers. So that's the first person that I remember died. And there was others that died. I just can't remember who they were. But I knew Ricardo Guzman. And I remember when that happened. Another person that died that was part of the prayer group meeting, my cousin Jesus. Carvajal here knows what happened to my mother. God rest their souls. She was part of the prayer group. And I remember how they came. They came in numbers. When we were in Lubbock, Texas, they came in numbers, the demons. You know what people call Bigfoots? As big as a Bigfoot are, with the red eyes, they came. They came to our ranch out there in Anton, Texas. They surrounded the ranch. They surrounded the house. They was looking in through the windows. And demonic activity was happening outside our home and inside our home. Inside that ranch house where we lived in Lubbock, Texas. Activity was happening. We were working in the fields because we're migrant workers. One thing I remember happened was a rattlesnake appeared, and my mom was screaming. When I approached it, it was coiled up like it was fixing to strike her. So I hit the rattlesnake right on top of the head with, and the wind is picking up strong here. I hit the rattlesnake with my hoe, you know, with a hoe. Boom, right on top of it. When I hit it, and it had red eyes, it disappeared. There was a puff of smoke and it smelled like sulfur. Well, after that, last summer we went to work. When we came back home, it's when everything happened with my mother. And I lost my mother. So when I say that I've lost a loved one to demonic forces or forces of the unseen, that's what has happened in my family. That's why I fight the big fight, this unseen spiritual war. Because I've lost somebody. It's starting to rain here pretty bad. And that all had to do with that. It had to do with a lady that was possessed. I found out something through somebody else named which was Nancy Rodriguez's dad. Cooney. Name was Cooney. His nickname was Cooney. Before he passed away, he wanted to share a story with me. He said that down there in this what happened, how this woman got possessed. Up there in Lubbock, Texas, he was drinking beer with a friend, and the friend that he was drinking beer with was Ricardo de Guzman's dad, right? So there was by this lake called Devil's Lake, and they were drinking beers, and Guzman's father said that he don't believe in God, nor he believed in the devil. So that day that he said that was the day that his wife got possessed. When he said he didn't believe in God nor Lucifer, that was a spiritual opening he used to possess her. And that's what he shared with me of how it all started, how all that had in common with my parents' prayer group. But it's starting to rain pretty hard here, guys. Let me see if I can go inside before it starts pouring on me. Wait one. Yeah, it's pouring pretty hard. I don't know if y'all could hear what I was saying out there. But that man named Cooney told me exactly how the woman got possessed. She got possessed because they were drinking beer, and her husband said that he didn't believe in Jesus, and God nor the Lucifer. They were by this lake called Devil's Lake, and his wife got possessed that day. That's how the coalition, because I shared the story with him of what happened when they went to pray for this woman, and he knew how she got possessed. His name was Cooney, and I'm thinking that's why he became religious, because of what happened. But I've been fighting the spiritual battle for a long time, man. And what happens is, what people don't understand is, when you're the head of the household, whether you're the mother, the parents, your priority is your children, and you have to protect your household. So by them doing those works that we're doing, they're putting everybody within the house in danger. And that's why I will witness the attachments that might have had coming into our home because of the works that we're doing. If that makes sense with y'all. That's why I pray before, during, and after an investigation. If things start getting out of control, I take authority or whatever it is through Jesus Christ's name. And I believe that's the reason that I'm being targeted right now spiritually by these witches and warlocks that are within the cryptic community, because they worship something else. They know who I am because of the works that I do, right? So they try to give me a bad reputation because they know what I'm capable of doing. So that's why they want to take me out of the equation, so they can continue to worship their false gods, worship their demons, worship whatever they worship, right? They know I'm the person that can help out people that are really needing the spiritual help. So they want to get me out of the picture. They want to form an alliance to come up against me spiritually. That's no problem. I've handled numbers before spiritually. I'm just sharing stories here of spiritual encrypted encounters. I know the weather is bad, but if anybody has any questions, you can leave it here. But there's the stories I'm sharing with y'all, brothers and sisters, that are true stories. And I have many more. I just, if I could have somebody, I like sharing my story this way, in this kind of platform, because I can remember anything. Like, if anybody has any questions of what I just said, or, you want to say something, you can always leave a message here on the live while you view it, or when I place it in the Spiritual Encrypted Encounters on YouTube, you can send a message of the stories. But I believe this is all for right now, but I'm going to say a little prayer before I go. Heavenly Father, at this time, I would like to pray for everybody that viewed this video and that is going to view the video, for them to know that to always maintain a love foundation, and to not give power to fear. Do not give power do not be afraid, but be brave, because Jesus Christ is with you, and to always maintain your love foundation at all times. And if it needs to come, there's so many things are happening around you, call upon the Heavenly Father to come and assist you, and take authority over anything around you that's coming at you in a negative way through Jesus Christ. So at this time, I would like to say, I tie, bind, and rebuke any negative energies. They're trying to interrupt this video. They're trying to fight anybody in any kind of way. We tie, bind, and rebuke you through Jesus Christ. In Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Everybody have a beautiful, blessed evening. Peace.